get out of the gate. So by the time you get to round 4 and you're playing what should be your easiest pairing, you may be suffering because you're just like taking so many losses by that point. So they have to stay mentally strong. As we see Bardiya and Grischuk, their game has started, and Daneshvar is going with the Karokan here to start off against Grischuk.
Yeah, the Karokan obviously super popular nowadays at all levels. And Alexander Grischuk essaying the line, which I think of all of the lines in the advanced Karo is probably the choice of most super GMs who really play principled chess. This is the short variation where the bishop modestly comes out to e2, but don't be fooled by the sort of modest appearance of White's kingside development. Amon, I think you'll co-sign this point. The short variation is actually a very principled and aggressive line that leads to some wild tactical struggles, particularly when Black castles queenside, which is pretty often.
That's right. You'll definitely see that Grischuk's play base a lot of what he gets in return from his opponent. Right? It depends which way the king castles. It depends how Black develops. Black sometimes has lines where they go for g5, even f6. Knight e7 is definitely a more modest approach. I think g5 and bishop g7 is still on the table, but a lot of times you see, even the bishop move again, like dropping back to g6, knight f5, bishop e7, just slowly getting developed like that. But you mentioned it, most top players these days are going for this advanced line with White because, hey, it takes more space, the computer co-signs it, and it's not easy for Black to find enough squares for his pieces to develop.
A4 is the ultimate typical grandmaster move. White grabs space on the queen side, and this move will double as a pawn storm type of move. If Black in fact castles queenside, there's no doubt that this pawn is either going to land on a5 or support the b pawn in its quest to shatter Black's queenside pawn structure. So it's largely a game of cat and mouse, and you often see the players try to be maximally flexible. I think that's easier to do for White because White's already castled, White's already committed in that regard. Black has to figure out how to generate more real estate for his minor pieces, and that's precisely what Daneshvar does. He pushes c5, and Amon, the idea isn't so much to win the d4 pawn, which is very well protected, as to vacate the c6 square for the knight, and then the bishop can take the parking spot that was cleared away by the knight.
Absolutely, yeah, knight c6 is the intention, and Black's pieces actually look quite good, honestly. After that, they've all found good squares. As Grischuk, I'm definitely looking at a move like a5, because I'm getting the impression that if Black plays knight c6 and White plays a5, potentially a6, you could really loosen up a lot of light squares. You're highlighting it exactly. Bishop b5, queen a4. That knight on c6 is extremely hard to defend, and White is just getting more and more space. So I wouldn't mind seeing a5 here from Grischuk. I'm also drawn to other moves like just simple developing moves, but he just played a4, so a5 is the first move on my mind.
Having said A, you have to say B, but probably Grischuk is going to take 6.5 minutes before saying B. You also see White taking on c5 in these Karokan lines, which is a very difficult move to explain, I think, particularly to newer players. Why would you voluntarily shatter your own pawn chain? And the reasons are complex, they're very tactical, but one of the reasons is that you can use the d4 square as a very powerful post for your knight, and from d4, the knight is needling the bishop. It can also later move on to b5 and d6, as is common in a lot of different French variations. So Sasha is going to settle into another long think. He's already down 2 minutes on the clock by move 9. Again, the world continues to spin.
like sort of a discovery of the season, right? Like I thought before the season that he might be like a good pickup, like some sort of a dark horse, but so far what he has been doing, beating Robson with black, beating Matthias Guban with black, scoring 3.5 out of 4 in the previous match, I think he shows that he's very, very much underrated. Like, I don't know, do you have any experience playing him in online? I saw that he is like very high on chess.com, I presume. There might be some mentions, right? So.
Yeah,
I
actually played him recently, but I don't think I've ever played him before. Played him in like a Title Tuesday recently. That might be it, and I recognized his name because of the PCL. I was like, wait a minute, this is the guy that's tearing up the PCL right now, so kind of intimidating, but a really good pickup for you guys.
Yeah, it was a pity that today he started on a slightly lower note because he had a very, very good chances, I thought, in the first game, and this second game also doesn't look too good for now, but okay, I mean, MVM and Grischuk, I mean, that's crazy first two boards, very strong, so yeah, it's hard tough to stay alive there, right?
I mean, Polina and Bardiya get MVO Grischuk in different orders, and the silver lining for them is that they do have two significantly easier games. Polina pulled out a draw against Grischuk, and I'm sure that Bardiya is not exactly going to be, mourning the losses too much. He's got two winnable games in the next 2 rounds, and this game is not over. It's far from over. The eval bar has just dropped, but it's going to be really hard to defend this with only a minute left on the clock.
Yeah,
I get the feeling
he has less time than Grischuk. That's surprising.
Achievement.
That's the worst sign.
Achievement unlocked. No, that's always going to be tough. It's not just how strong the top players are, but like when you're low on the clock as well, it factors into it. Offhand, I look at this and I'm kind of thinking that if he survives a couple moves here, the light squares for Grischuk are insanely weak. That bishop shows up on e4. I start to get concerned, but it's the immediate issues in the position like a7 hanging, c4 hanging that are the cause for concern. But I feel, Daniel, like we've done a disservice. We keep showing him the games against Grischuk in MPL. I mean,
I know.
What